Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, I have Nissan posting their worst year in history, losing $4.5 billion, which is quite a pretty penny to say the least. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Chris Smith. And they say right there in bold print, Nissan lost $4.5 billion last year. Here's how it plans to survive. they're planning, they're trying. I don't know if they will. They say the company still has money in the bank, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. There you can see I was going to say that's more like the classic logo from around the 2008 era on one of their slideshow presentation decks there. But yeah, things aren't looking great for Nissan. Can't help but think those CVT transmissions that grenaded themselves is a major contributing factor of why no one with a modicum of intelligence, on average, is buying a Nissan. Unless you have really bad credit, or you love the Nissan Z, which is kind of sad that there's only one option for a new twin-turbo V6 with a stick shift these days in North America. But again, if I won the lottery, I'd probably get one of those. I'm not sure if I would rely upon it for a daily driver, but it seems like a fun toy to have. Now, they say, quote, Nissan just had its worst financial year in over 2 decades. The Japanese brand announced its final results for 2024, which ended on March 31st. As expected, the numbers were way down. I will also give you a visual disclaimer. I'm going to show a Nissan vehicle on screen. Ooh, it's abhorrent. One of those boring off-road crossovers. But at least it's an interesting paint color. It's kind of like a cream. And perhaps that might be the one reliable thing about the vehicle. The paint won't fall off. Maybe. No promises, though. They say operating profit fell 87.7% due to, quote-unquote, lower volume, a weaker mix, pricing pressure, and increased cost, per Nissan Chief Financial Officer Jeremy Papin. Increased cost was a major factor, with $405 million going to restructuring cost. At the end of the day, Nissan recorded a net loss of $4.5 billion. They note that sales were healthy despite the losses. They say, ironically, Nissan sales weren't that bad. The automaker fell just 2.8% globally, led by China, where sales were off by 12.2%. In North America, sales were actually up 3.3%. What? They're up 3.3%? Who's buying these? I don't believe this. I don't know anyone in the past, well, I guess Nick got, one of my friends to get a Nissan truck, but I don't know anyone in the past 10 years has bought a Nissan willingly. He didn't want to pay the premium for a Ford or a Chevy pickup truck, so he bought the Nissan, which, bang for your buck for the V8 pickup truck is pretty good. And truth be told, believe it or not, he hasn't had that many reliability issues. But I can't believe his sales went up in North America. That's weird. The company's revenue was nearly flat year over year, falling less than 0.5%, but Nissan is drowning in cost. This is per Nissan CEO Ivan Espinosa saying, quote, our full year financial results are a wake-up call. The reality is very clear. Our variable costs are rising. Our fixed costs are higher than our current revenue can support, unquote. As such, Nissan has already written off all FY25 as a transition year. Global sales are projected to decline slightly as it loses more money, but exactly how much money is unknown. Uncertainty involving tariffs is throwing a monkey wrench in the forecast, pretty much with every automaker, but Nissan currently estimates tariffs will cost them around $3 billion. They say that's bad news for Nissan, but Nissan isn't dead yet, somehow. CEO says, quote, Nissan must prioritize self-improvement with greater urgency and speed, aiming for profitability with less reliance on volume. This is what we're setting out to do with our new recovery plan, unquote, which they also did just roll out a new dealer incentive mechanism or dealer incentive program. Historically speaking, pretty much every major automotive company has these dealer programs, so they have spiffs, they also have metrics for their sales representatives or service departments, and I think it might be an industry first. Nissan said, we're going to take all that and throw it out the window. All that matters, the only metric now is sales. And to Nissan's credit, they're handing out some crazy good bonuses and spiffs for those sales representatives, or more accurately, the dealerships that hit sales goals, who more often than not would give a highest percentage of that money to the sales representatives and the managers and such. And again, clear what the company's saying. We want to do sales, sales, sales. Now they're saying, oh yeah, we want to focus less on reliance on volume, which historically speaking, Nissan does a lot of those fleet sales, a lot of those rental sales. That is a contributing factor to their overall sales volume. And now it's funny they want to go for value, which, again, value, I'm not buying a Nissan, I'm buying pretty much anything else. Now let's say, yes, Nissan, RE Nissan is the official name for the company's turnaround plan. A startup starts with liquidity. Nissan still has $23 billion to work with another $14.2 billion in credit, which bank is giving them credit? Really? Risky bank. And they say, for their step one is to cut costs. SBA confirmed an additional 10,000 layoffs to come, bringing the total workforce reduction to approximately 20,000 people. The majority of these cuts will come on the labor side, due largely to Nissan closing 7 plants, bringing the total down to 10. That'll happen all by 2027. Nissan plans to also consolidate its manufacturing processes to keep utilization near 100%. For new product development, the company will lower engineering costs by 20% and achieve a 70% reduction in complexity. Really? You're going to lower engineering costs by 20%? I'm actually surprised they have anyone in engineering to begin with. I almost assume they just took a crappy old transmission and said, good enough, put in Nissan Altima and say, do you have a Pulse, Bob or Shelly or whoever? If you have a Pulse, Nissan Credit will get that vehicle for you. For better, or let's be honest, most likely, more often, for worse. Now, he says also, development time will also be ramped up to 30 months if everything works out. These measures will reduce the cost by $3.4 billion. CE also said this is an area where we need to go further and faster, unquote. Companies can't simply cut the fat to achieve profitability, so the other aspects of RE Nissan will utilize existing partnerships to better serve specific markets around the globe. The company will seek to consolidate its supply chain to achieve more volume and fewer suppliers, and EV vehicle development costs will not slow down. CEO emphasized new hybrids and crossovers for North America were coming, and he said also a Nissan Skyline is confirmed. However, it's unclear at this time if it'll be a sedan or a fire-breathing GTR successor, or a bit of both, which they've also, I think it's also been confirmed, it's going to be a hybrid, which is the dumbest thing in the world for a sports car. Ridiculous. Try maintaining an iPhone or an Android phone for more than 5 years. That's why I think EVs are mostly useless long-term, especially when you're trying to have a fun, collectible car that you want to tune yourself, but I partially digress. I do think they need a Halo car because it kind of shows the peak engineering capabilities and manufacturing capabilities of an automobile company. So I think every car company should have them, even though some traditionally really don't. I'm still waiting for Honda to make a real successor to the S2000, but I partially digress. And they say, quote, only time will tell if Nissan's plan will work. For now, the general tariff chaos makes it incredibly difficult to predict automotive future. But the takeaways from Nissan's FY 2024 report are twofold. The company is selling cars and it still has money in the bank. Things could certainly be worse, and if plans come together, Nissan expects profitability by 2026. We'll see. Now, of course, let's go to the comment section. Now, there's not a lot, but one of the first comments is, it is about, what do you know? They're shitty transmissions. Yet another reason to buy a stick shift is if you didn't already need another one. Someone by the name of Ricardo Di Cantianto says, quote, why buy Nissan? Transmission fail. Cost me $8,000 to replace. Nissan will not cover the cost of replacement. Do not buy Nissan, unquote. Yeah, again, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I think one of the biggest reasons why Nissan is just looked upon as unreliable and trash, those transmissions just destroyed it, especially the Altima, which is one of the most popular cars by number of units sold. Those things have BAE energy is what the Facebook told me. And yeah, let's just say if I won the lottery, if I had to buy a new car, it's not a 0% chance I'd buy a Nissan. I might get the Z if I won the lottery, but it's like a 1% chance. So, they claim to be increasing their sales. And again, crossovers, SUVs, that's important. That's where a lot of profitability is in the automotive community. People love to overspend for those pieces of, well, I would say junk, but automobiles. But let me know, do you know anyone who's actually bought a Nissan? Do they like it? And do you think they'll actually achieve that profitability by 2026? Let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.